This Mac behind me is the oldest one in the world, and McDonald's was created by the brothers Mac and Dick McDonald in 1940. That's over 80 years ago. They currently have more than 37,000 stores, and they feed 1% of the world's population. That's over 78 million people. Now let's take a real trip down McDonald's memory lane. The interesting thing is that they show how much things cost in '55 when the Pioneer was founded. You could buy a house for $10,000 and you'd pay only 20 cents per gallon of gas. And their burger cost 15 cents. When McDonald's was created, it didn't have much difference from other burger shops. And as you can see, their menu was full of random stuff back then. Until they realized that their best sellers were hamburgers, french fries, and milkshake. And that's when they had the brilliant idea of turning this menu into a much simpler one with basically just hamburgers, milkshake, soda, and french fries. McDonald's fries are fire. And there's also a McDonald's museum in here. Another interesting thing is that at that time, there was no drive-in as we know it today. Instead, there was a waitress who'd skate up to your car, take your order, and bring the food to you. In other words, you never had to leave your car. That's when they overhauled everything. They closed the restaurant for months, revamped the menu, and also changed the way people got their food. Now the menu was much simpler, like this one I'm showing you. And now you had to get out of your car to pick up your own food. But their idea at the beginning was a failure. And that was the clothing they used back then. Very different, isn't it? That was about 80 years ago. Christmas commemorative dishes. And this was the menu that conquered the world. Hamburger, cheeseburger, french fries, milkshake, simple. My friends, as I have already mentioned on this channel, Americans use cars a lot. So they didn't like the idea of having to get out of the car to get their food. And this here is the first drive-in in the world. Basically, their idea went very wrong at first. But over time, people became curious about how this faster food system worked. It was a completely new thing that no one had done before. Then their business started to boom. This is the milkshake machine from that time. That's how they used to make burgers back then, several at the same time. With a simpler menu, you can have more people making burgers, and since there were only 2 types of burgers, you can make several at the same time. That's how fast food was created. But the biggest breakthrough they had in their system, and what was attracting many people, the fast food system. At McDonald's, everyone knows that you arrive, order the food, and in 3 minutes it's ready. Just like that. And in that time, and even nowadays, you go to a restaurant, order food, and then you have to wait around half an hour. But not at McDonald's, man. They created the fast food system. And that's where the guy who stole McDonald's appears. Ray Kroc. High five. Oh my god, I've never seen this character before. So bizarre. This character was from Mac Tonight, a marketing campaign by McDonald's in the 90s. So awkward. And here's the man, Ray Kroc. He only started making serious money after he turned 50, and it proves to you that it's never too late. Back then, Ray Kroc was a guy who sold milkshake machines. He sold very few machines a month and was already 52. In other words, he was a somewhat failed businessman. But suddenly, a McDonald's store ordered 6 milkshake machines from him. So he thought, I hardly sell anything, and all of a sudden this guy's ordered 6 machines from me. Then he decided to visit McDonald's and see what was going on there. And look at the packaging from back then, how cool. They are pretty similar to the ones they use nowadays. A prisoner with a hamburger tie, how random. A kid eating McDonald's ads. The first McDonald's and a line of people wanting Happy Meal. Big Meal ads. And this here is the first poster announcing the release of the Big Mac. Historical, man. And that's when Kroc arrived at McDonald's, saw the McDonald's system, and thought, wow man, I've never seen anything like this before. Why aren't these guys franchising? And that's when he said to them, are you crazy, man? Why aren't you franchising this new business? Why aren't you millionaires? Crazy, 15 cents for a hamburger. These ads from that time were so freaking bizarre. What the f... And here we can see how things were really booming back then. And here's the famous milkshake machine. That's what milkshakes used to be like back then. That's when Ray Kroc planted this idea in the brothers' heads. Then he managed to make contracts with the brothers to create franchises. However, they gave him a very small percentage to start making franchises. Nevertheless, he was able to make some franchises, but he needed more percentage. A percentage that the brothers began to deny, and that's where the trouble began. He needed more percentage to make franchises, but the brothers were thinking, we're not gonna give you more percentage for that, man. Basically, the two were thinking about the micro while Kroc about the macro. That's when the trouble began, as I said before. Then a guy arrived and put the idea in Ray Kroc's head, saying to him, McDonald's isn't in the food business, it's in the real estate. As I told you, McDonald's has 39,000 stores around the world, and all of them have to occupy a piece of land, real estate. That's why Ray Kroc began to buy the McDonald's lands and lease them to his franchisees, making a lot of money, even more than the brothers. Smart guy. And these were the cups back then. Look at the design and all. The prisoner with a tie again. So nice. And this was the tray where the kids ate back then. This just proves how different the designs were 80 years ago. Now imagine 80 years from now. To get worse, there was also the milkshake dispute, because he started to distribute powdered milkshakes to his franchisees, which was outside the contract. But the brothers didn't want powdered milkshake, they wanted real milk, and for McDonald's to become the titan it is today, they had to use powdered milkshake to make it cheaper. And because of that, more and more disputes began, and so the brothers sued Kroc. However, by then he had become very big, so they made a written agreement stating that Kroc would pay them $1 million. That was the written agreement, but there was also the other dishonesty. It was the verbal agreement. Kroc told them, hey, this won't be in the contract, but I'll give you my word that you'll receive 0.5% of all McDonald's profits. 0.5% of McDonald's! That'd be about $100 million today. Well, that part was never paid, but it was also a verbal agreement. At least he paid the guys $1 million, and then he kept the whole McDonald's, man. This insanely large franchise today is not due to the founders. This also happened with Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and many other insanely large companies today, man. Basically, in my opinion, the story of McDonald's is that the McDonald's brothers didn't want to expand too much. Then this guy came along who wanted to expand, and they were like, hey, we don't want to expand that much. And stuff. It's also important to mention that since Kroc got McDonald's for himself, which is not this one, they had to change the name, because now ironically the name belonged to Ray Kroc and no longer to the McDonald's brothers. So now this store is no longer called McDonald's, just has a big M. So even the first store, he took it from the guys, man, which nowadays is no longer called McDonald's, and that's why this one is considered the first one. And here you can see that Ray Kroc's name is the biggest name behind McDonald's. Well, my friends, that was the video dedicated to the first McDonald's in the world. Thank you very much for watching this video, and see you next time.